UFC Fight Night Singapore, Holloway versus the Korean Zombie just took place, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my reaction and breakdown to every single fight on the card, and my overall event recap as well. Let's start straight away with the early prelim opener of Seung Choi versus Jarno Errens. I was glancing at this fight as I was setting up my stream, but I saw what was going on. It was a pretty fun fight. If I remember correctly, round one was a little bit of nothing, but Seung Choi maybe landed the better shots out of the two of them, even though Jarno Errens was doing good in round one as well. Round two, Jarno Errens catches Seung Choi. I believe it was with an uppercut. It was a long card, and I was very tired as I was watching this, setting stuff up and getting myself ready for the stream because I was a bit late. But Jarno Errens, I believe, catches him with an uppercut in the second round. It was hard to tell when it first happened, but you noticed it afterwards, and that, of course, is going to give the second round to Jarno Errens. Then I believe Seung Choi maybe ended up on top position at one point. Round three, Seung Choi hurts Jarno Errens, drops him badly as well, and then just sort of like stalls out the rest of the fight. I feel like there was many moments where I don't know why Muay Thai fighters don't just hurt an opponent and then go, right, stand yourself back up. I'm a Muay Thai guy. I'm not just going to be laying here and let you go to a decision. But it kind of ended up going that way. So, decent fight to start off the card. Again, Seung Choi landed the better shots in round one. Got dropped in round two, even though he was doing good in round two outside of it. And then round three had a great round for himself as well. So, really good stuff from Seung Choi. He wins that fight 29-28. Some judge gave a 30-27, even though he got knocked down in round two, which I think is quite crazy. We move on up the card to another fight, which was Liang versus JJ Aldrich. This was Liang getting takedowns, getting to good positions, but then making mistakes in her jiu-jitsu that would allow JJ Aldrich to end up on top position over her. She would like find the back of JJ Aldrich, but then you'd glance again and JJ Aldrich would be on top position finally, and she'd have shaken Liang off of the back position. There were some moments where Liang was going for submission positions and stuff like that, and it was just really silly stuff she was going for. Like, she went for an armbar on the wrong arm and then tried to sort of turn it into a triangle type situation at the end of round one. Eventually, JJ Aldrich got dominant position on the back and landed some really nasty elbows. And yeah, JJ Aldrich eventually won the fight. A little bit of a tricky first round for her, but eventually in the second, she started getting dominant position, getting dominant control, and eventually Liang just couldn't scramble out of anything anymore and got finished in round two. So good finish from JJ Aldrich. I started the card 2-0. I was watching this fight as I was loading up the stream. We move on to the fights I was actually fully paying attention to the whole time. Billy Goff versus Yusaku Kinoshita. Amazing performance from Billy Goff. Not great, actually. I'm going to take away amazing. I'm going to say super Chad performance from Billy Goff. Although he was getting caught on the chin quite a bit from Yusaku Kinoshita, and he was taking some shots where I'm like, oh, hold on a second, he's wading in here, and he's getting cracked on the chin quite a bit. He did not let that deter him whatsoever. Like, Yusaku Kinoshita was landing bombs on him as he came in. And Billy Goff had this mindset of, which I really rate about him, because some fighters you don't see this. Some fighters you'll see them get hit with a few shots and then time to give up on the pressure game plan. You know what I'm saying? That's what some fighters end up doing. But for Billy Goff, he was like, oh, sorry, you're hitting me with big shots? I don't care. My game plan is to pressure and land these body shots on you. Back up. You know what I'm saying? That was such a Chad performance from Billy Goff. Because again, so many other fighters would back down and shy away from that type of fight if they started getting tagged big time as they were trying to pressure their opponent. But eventually Billy Goff started breaking him down, landing those body shots, landed some shots of his own to the head as well, and eventually crumpled Yusaku Kinoshita with, I believe it was a straight right hand to the solar plexus. It wasn't a liver shot. It was right to the breadbasket with a straight right hand after faking up high before as well. So he brought the hands up. Boom, straight right hand to the body, crumpled Yusaku Kinoshita, and finished him off with a couple of ground and pound shots afterwards. Really, he got tagged a few times, not flawless performance-wise, but he followed his game plan and showed great resilience to keep to it, even though he was getting stung sometimes as well. So, good job, Billy Goff. Great performance. We move on up the card to another fight. Seung Kenan versus Rolando Bedoya, the parlay buster of the card. So, Rolando Bedoya, he was doing good. He was doing better than Seung Kenan. The problem was in this fight, he just didn't do enough. And he kept dropped in the key moments. It's so sad to see that, man, because he had a great first round. He was doing good. He had his moments. Now, Seung Kenan also had some moments as well. But Rolando Bedoya was landing more of the shots, breaking him down, landing those leg kicks a bunch. I think he broke his foot at one point in the fight. I'm not even trying to give him excuses, but I think Seung Kenan checked to kick, and he broke his foot, Rolando Bedoya, because you could see him stop kicking with it for the rest of the fight after that happened. And then round 2 and 3, both guys are landing good shots. Seung Kenan's actually keeping up quite well, but Bedoya's landing a few more. But in certain moments, Seung Kenan catches him and gets a knockdown. In round 2, he catches him off balance and gets a knockdown. In round 3, he does the same thing. So they gave it unanimous 29-28 to Seung Kenan. Tough for Rolando Bedoya, dude, because he actually looked like he had some potential, but he just got knocked down in those wrong moments, you know, where it's just going to be a 10-9 guaranteed. And unless he got a finish or a knockdown of his own, there's no way he'd be able to get that round back for himself. So good performance from Seung Kenan. He actually looked good out there. And how bad really is Chaos Williams? And is Ian Garry quite good for only getting knocked down once by Seung Kenan, I guess, and then finishing him and dominating him outside of that? So, good performance from Seung Kenan. Got the decision win. Good for him, because if he lost, that would have been his career finished. And also, something I noticed about him, when he first started the fight, I said to myself, is this the dude that fought Ian Garry? He looked, no joke, 10 pounds of muscle mass less than when he fought Ian Garry. Don't know if anyone else noticed that. His legs halved in size. Like, he just looked so much smaller than he did in his last fight. And I guess that paid dividends for him because he had a better cardio gas tank and was able to push into those later rounds and get the knockdowns that he needed. So, good performance by Seung Kenan. I was wrong. I don't think you could have picked him building into this fight, but good job to him. He gets the upset. There's always one on a card that just bamboozles your brain and doesn't really make too much sense. But good job by Seung Kenan. Rolando Bedoya, dude, 0-2 now in the UFC, when you thought he was going to be a good prospect. We move on. Up the card, Chidi Njokuani versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. I picked Chidi Njokuani to get a first round KO over Michal Oleksiejczuk. And for the first 3 minutes of that first round, I actually was believing, oh, here we go, I'm right. He's going to KO Michal Oleksiejczuk. He hurt him early to the body, with a front kick to the body, some body kicks, some knees to the body, and it was very clear that he was targeting the body of Michal Oleksiejczuk. But then, Michal turns it around, as he does, like the absolute Polish Chad that he is. He forgets, he got rocked with a head kick in that fight as well, I'm remembering it all now. Rocked with a head kick after Chidi was throwing a lot of them to the body early on, because of course he can see the soft body of Michal Oleksiejczuk and thinking, that's a weak body right there, I'm going to crumple him to there. And he did hurt him to the body. He had him in a clinch at moments, landing knee to the body over and over again, like 5 or 6 of them. Elbows in the clinch after rocking him with a head kick. He landed a head kick on Michal Oleksiejczuk. Michal Oleksiejczuk just took it, wobbled a bit, stood up, got in the clinch. Chidi was landing elbows on him, knees to the body again, and still Michal Oleksiejczuk stayed on his feet. Ended up on top a few times as well, to a scramble, to a takedown of his own as well, to buy himself some time. And once he got back up, he put it on Chidi Njokuani. And this was the ultimate display of a durability difference, of a grit difference, a heart difference between the two of them. Because Chidi, when he hurt Michal Oleksiejczuk, Michal stayed in there, gritted down, and kept swinging in the pocket. When Chidi got hurt by Michal Oleksiejczuk, he absolutely crumbled. Covered up, cowered away, started running away from him at one moment, like, oh God. Like, it was just like a complete heart and durability difference between the two of them on full display. And then when Michal Oleksiejczuk got that takedown in round 2, or ended up on top in round 1, towards the end, he just started landing those shots over and over and over again. And eventually Chidi Njokuani just sort of covered up and shelled up and took the beating and got finished. So it was a true durability difference, a true heart difference, and Michal Oleksiejczuk got 50k for his performance, so good for him. Really good performance from him. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which was Garrett Armfield versus Toshiomi Kazama. Great performance by Garrett Armfield. I was worried about this fight because of the jiu-jitsu of Toshiomi Kazama, and I was thinking to myself, well, he lost to Rinya Nakamura, but maybe it was just Rinya Nakamura, you know what I mean? But Garrett Armfield looked good, and it turns out Toshiomi Kazama's not all that, and his boxing's a bit sus. and he don't grit down and throw back. And he was just letting Garrett Armfield dictate the pace of the fight, engage when he wanted to, win the pocket exchanges without any fear of anything coming back. Occasionally, Kazama would land some shots, but the boxing of Garrett Armfield was just too good. Landed too many shots, rocked him earlier in the round, stumbled him about a few times as well, and then eventually at the end of round 1, smacked him with a straight right hand, I believe it was, right on the chin, flatlines him for a second. Kazama starts popping back up, so it was a bit of an early stoppage, but because of how much damage and the one-way traffic that was taking place before that knockdown, you can understand why the referee would jump in when he did. Great win from Garrett Armfield. Great first round KO. He actually looked like a very capable fighter, so we'll see what he can do moving forward. We move on. And he had a good moment. He had a good moment on the microphone as well. Wanted to fight soon. Wanted to get right back in there. And yeah, he looked pretty charismatic on the mic. And Trey Ogden got ignored by Bisping for a fist bump. We all saw it. You clown. I'm joking. But still, it was embarrassing, right? We move on. Up the card. Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Lukasz Burski. So, this fight to me, I picked Waldo Cortes-Acosta by first round KO, which I was right on. This fight to me was, is Waldo going to deal with the leg kicks? And immediately as the fight started, Lukasz Burski lands, I want to say 4 leg kicks, maybe 3 leg kicks. Overall, he landed 10 of 12. But he started the fight landing a bunch of them, but he was landing them with his feet, and I was like, okay, he's landing some leg kicks here. But then Waldo Cortes-Acosta started landing his own ones, and he started to check a few of them as well and move out of the way of some of them, and I was like, okay, he's dealing with his massive problem that he's dealt with his entire career, which is leg kicks. We'll get to Anthony Smith in a second. Ryan Spann, what a clown. Waldo starts putting pressure on him, catches him with a punch as he's going for a kick, knocks him off balance a little bit, and it kind of disorientates Lukasz Burski. And then he starts putting the pressure on, tags him over the top of his jab with a right hand over the top, right to the side of the head. And then Lukasz Burski goes jelly-legged, Danny Roberts mode, as I like to call it. Goes Danny Roberts mode, jelly-legged all over the place. Starts stumbling about, turns his back to Waldo Cortes-Acosta. And it kind of was to the side of the back of the head. But it was just a clubbing blow to the back of the head that sent Burski face planting into the canvas, basically. Really brutal KO from Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I feel like they should have given him a 50k bonus for that, even though it was a back of the head shot, kind of. It maybe wasn't. I'll have to rewatch the replay a few times. But great job by Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Really good performance. Gets a win by KO, a first dominant win of his career that wasn't an edged out decision, you know? We move on. Up the card, Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. Parker Porter, this is what happens when he fights a Tafa, brother, man. Like, Junior Tafa put that mustard on him real quick. Was a little bit loosey-goosey in the first round. Not the first round, in the first minute of the fight. Was like sort of trying to over-relax himself, maybe. You know, and ease himself into the fight. I'm not saying over-relax, but you could see very visibly by his body language, he was like trying to get loose, you know what I mean? So he was like turning away from Porter, touching his nose in the middle of exchanges and stuff, doing a few slick moves and stuff like that. So he was trying to calm himself down. Eventually Porter starts charging in like Aljo did against O'Malley. Just charging him with his chin up in the air. Junior Tafa catches him with a hook, gets the clinch, knee to the face on Parker Porter. Porter stumbles backwards, but as Junior Tafa goes for the finish, Porter goes in for a single leg to try and stop it, and ends up stopping the finishing sequence to begin with. But then Tafa catches him behind the ear with a brutal right hand, sends Parker Porter straight towards the canvas, face planting, and the canvas gave way and capsized. No, I'm joking, no. Parker Porter got finished by first round KO. Junior Tafa gets it done. Brutal finish. Good on the microphone as well, ish. And great win from him. Really good KO win from him. Nice. And I picked that as well. We move on. Erin Blanchfield versus Taylor Santos. I said she'd win a decision, 29-28. She won a decision, 29-28. It was kind of uneventful of a performance, though. You know what I'm saying? She won clearly rounds 2 and 3. Round 3 was quite close in terms of damage. But then you've got to go on the fact that she's the one pushing. She's working in the clinch. She's going for takedowns. I think she got a partial takedown in round 3. Round 2. Round 1, I was thinking to myself, okay, this is Taylor Santos' round. She's landing the better shots here for sure. And Erin Blanchfield is being so open on the feet. I was worried she was going to get chinned as she came in. But in round 2, Taila Santos, who was stuffing takedowns the whole fight, by the way, eventually went for her own takedown and messed it up badly and ended up on bottom. Terrible for her, because of that, she lost that round. Just from being on bottom in that round and having a few little tap shots here and there from Erin Blanchfield. Other than that, she stuffed all the takedowns. So her going for a takedown of her own and failing it messed her up quite a bit, and she ended up on bottom position for about 4 minutes in round 2, or 3.5 minutes, something like that. And then in round 3, not much to differentiate the two of them, but Blanchfield did a bit at the end by landing a few good shots and then just pushed her up against the cage for the rest of that round. It was the first boring fight of the card. I don't know what the correlation could be, though. It's a weird one. It's a true mystery of the sport, I guess. But Erin Blanchfield wins. Was it enough for a title fight? She beat the girl who arguably beat Shevchenko, but she didn't out-grapple her. If I would have seen her get double legs and just ragdoll her and end up on top position, it would have been like, she's going to do that to Shevchenko or Grasso, you know what I mean? So if Manon Fiorot gets a finish over Rose Namajunas, she's taking the title shot. That's what this performance told me about Erin Blanchfield's performance. It was enough to guarantee the title shot, because if Manon Fiorot beats Namajunas in the co-main of next weekend, she's going to take that top spot. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which is Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. I said he was going to win by first round finish, and I almost guaranteed that. But credit to Fernie Garcia. He survived some bad positions. Now, Rinya Nakamura had a north-south choke on him. He had another choke on him as well at one point. I think like an arm triangle attempt or a Von Flue choke attempt at one point. He had an arm bar attempt that he went for as well. The story of this fight was, in my opinion, what we learned about Rinya Nakamura. Fernie Garcia was just there to see how good Rinya Nakamura really was. Unfortunate for him that he's just a side quest in Rinya Nakamura's life, but he's not good. Rinya was landing better shots on the feet, landing body kicks quite well as well on the feet. But his takedowns were really amazing. But one thing he needs to work on, though, is his jiu-jitsu. Really, really great positional control. Maybe he went for a straight arm lock at one point, I think. Maybe he was going for a straight arm bar. That might have been the other submission, not a Von Flue. I think it might have been a north-south choke, a straight arm lock, and then also the arm bar that he went for as well. We saw that Rinya Nakamura, good on the feet, good on the ground, wrestling amazing, control time amazing. You ain't out scrambling this dude, but submission skills need to be a little bit better so he can finish these moments. I truly believe, though, in certain positions that he was prioritizing the submission a bit too much. If he went for ground and pound, he probably would have got that fight stopped. There were moments where he was in a crucifix position, and I'm like, if you land another 10 elbows from here, they're going to stop the fight. Like, this guy can't escape. But he was looking for that straight arm lock, and it's just like, you're kind of messing it up for yourself. So, good performance from Rinya Nakamura. He's got a bit to work on. He's still young. He said that in his post-fight speech, and promised to finish in his next fight. So, dominant performance. Barely got touched. But yeah, it would be good to see him work on that finishing ability on the ground and decision-making to go for a TKO sometimes instead of a sub. Easier to defend against a sub. Get some damage on him. You know what I mean? Get some damage on him, cut him open a bit, then that sub will find itself. We move on. Up the card to another fight, which was Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres. I had this a bit closer than the scorecards that cleared at 30-27. I thought round 1 was close, but could have gone Alex Caceres' way. And then round 3 was quite close as well. But round 2 and 3, I think you have to give to Giga Chikadze. Round 1, you kind of have to closely give it his way. So I'm not mad at a 30-27 scorecard, but I am surprised that not a single judge gave a single round to Caceres, because it was very close. I was very finely going through it to make sure that, Giga was slightly landing the better shots. Chat had it 1-1 going into the third, and I was like, it's probably 2-0 Giga. But really good performance from both. Giga Chikadze looked ish. Problem is with featherweight, you can beat a top contender, and then there's Holloway and Volk at the top. So it's like, you've got to be dominating these guys, you know what I mean? And it's tough to see him go to a close decision with Caceres. And it's like, let's see how he does against Holloway or Volk. No, you know what I mean? That's tough. So we'll see what happens to Giga Chikadze. He wants to fight again before the end of the year. Hopefully he can. I'd love to see him more active. But good performance, I guess. But the thing is with this, I picked Caceres to win. Alex Caceres, you've been doing MMA for 2 decades. You know Giga Chikadze is a pure striker with a weakness for grappling. Alex Caceres did not shoot a single takedown in this fight. Why? Why did you not do that once? Not even to get the takedown. Just put the thought in Giga Chikadze's head to make him worry about it. You're the MMA fighter. I know he's a striker first, but come on. You're going for takedowns against other opponents. Why would you not go for it on Giga Chikadze? You went for him on Daniel Pineda. You went for him against Sadiq Youssef. You went for him against Kevin Kroom. Against Chase Hooper you went for him. It's Chase Hooper. You're worried about Chase Hooper on the feet enough to go for a takedown of your own, but not Giga Chikadze? Maybe he thought he was winning, but come on. We need an IQ test for fighters. Mandatory. On the tail of the tape. People are betting on this, man. We move on. Up the card. Speaking of bad decision making, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith clearly won this fight. If you are saying robbery, you are blind. Which Anthony Smith almost was in that fight. You are absolutely blind. Anthony Smith clearly won rounds 1 and rounds 3. Without a doubt in my mind, he won those rounds. There's no way of scoring either of those rounds for Ryan Spann. But Ryan Spann hurt him in round 2 and nearly finished him in round 2. Not enough for a 10-8 round. The fact that a judge ever gave a scorecard to Ryan Spann based on that 3rd round of his is shocking. 45 significant strikes to 27 in favor of Anthony Smith. He had a double accuracy rate, 65% to 31% of Spann, and he landed the better shots. How anyone gave that 3rd round to Ryan Spann is a joke. Shame on you. It's so clear to Anthony Smith. But my problem with this fight is this. Ryan Spann threw 6 leg kicks. The whole fight. Most of them were to the inside of the leg. And a lot of them, I think 5 of them were in round 3. Anthony Smith's biggest weakness of his entire career has been leg kicks. He self-admitted this. He cannot deal with leg kicks. He has soy legs. Destroy them. He's already broken his leg however many times. Get on that leg and chew it up, Ryan Spann. But no, he boxes for 3 rounds and throws teeps to the body. I need an IQ test for fighters. Mandatory. We need to know if these guys are dirty before they get in the cage. We need to know that. If people are going to be putting betting on this, I don't care about their reach, really. I want to know their IQ score. I really do. I want to give them random trivia on the walkout and see how well they score. Because why are you not throwing any leg kicks? You've been training for 8 weeks. Surely the whole training camp should have been based around chewing up Anthony Smith's leg. Not one until the 3rd round, when it's too late for them to do anything. Clear win for Anthony Smith. He didn't even look that good, but it just goes to show how terrible and awful Ryan Spann is. What a terrible, terrible brained fighter. Great win from Anthony Smith, though. Showed a lot of heart. Ryan Spann kind of messed up the finish in round 2. He's on top of Anthony Smith. Find a better position. Traverse to the back. Land body shots while Anthony Smith's on the ground. Why are you letting him back up? Will never cease to amaze me, the decision-making of some of these fighters. But Anthony Smith wins. Good for him. Back in the win column. We would have seen another retirement if he lost, I think. So he showed he still got it, you know. Back in the win column for Anthony Smith. I don't know who they're going to give him next. Maybe a Rakic, a Krylov. One of those types of matchups, which I do think he'll lose. Because I still don't think he's got it anymore. I think he is declining still. But good boxing from him in that fight, I guess. He was landing and looking better in the pocket than Ryan Spann was, even though he got rocked in the 2nd round. We move on. Up the card. Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. I went with Max Holloway, obviously. I'm going to skim over this. I did a full fight reaction to this on my channel. Really good performance from Max Holloway, man. Won the 1st round, won the 2nd, finished in the 3rd. Holloway did get hit with some shots, though. The Korean Zombie did land some good punches here and there and tag Holloway to where you were like, oh, hang on. You know what I mean? He's going after Holloway here and landing some good shots. But I think that was almost to the detriment of the Korean Zombie because he felt like he could do it again. And at the start of round 3, let me skim over here. Round 1, they both get rocked. Korean Zombie gets rocked way worse. Holloway barely gets rocked. He gets stunned for a little bit and goes, oh shit, and starts stumbling around backwards because the pressure of Korean Zombie was like mounting up. Round 2, Holloway puts him out cold, basically. Couple follow-up shots, that fight's over. But he tries to do a walk-off and the Korean Zombie recovers in a dash choke. Somehow doesn't tap to the dash choke. No idea. He was in it for about 45 seconds. Locked in tight. No idea how he didn't tap to the dash choke. Crazy from him. Round 3, flatline KO for Holloway. Sad, but Brazilian crowd. Jamal Hill put this on his Instagram story. Said, Brazil, this is how you do it or something. They were cheering for Zombie on the way out. The Brazilian crowd literally left the arena when Glover was there. That's what I want to... I might make a whole separate video about that because it was pathetic from them. But really good of Singapore to give Korean Zombie his hero's retirement. Great win from Max Holloway. I don't want to see him versus any strikers at featherweight moving forward. Give him some grapplers. So I'd say do Evloev Mitchell in October, soon as you can. Have Holloway fight the winner, or have Aljo move up and do a pound-for-pound matchup. 2 guys in the top 15 pound-for-pound. Holloway versus Aljo. That's my opinion. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. I think I went 9-4 on predictions. Not too shabby. I've been picking it up recently pretty well. See you later. Goodbye.